Boss Level, out on Hulu now, new action movie starring Frank Grillo, Mel Gibson, and Naomi Watts. The film sold me on its trailer and premise. A guy is stuck in a Groundhog Day type scenario where he's in a time loop. He relives a single day over and over and over again. What's different from Groundhog Day or Palm Springs that came out just last year is that this time around it's not just this calm existential comedy. It's a full-blown action film. See, the entire day of this guy is filled with various colorful characters trying to murder him in violent ways. A guy with a machete, an Asian woman with a katana, a dwarf with explosives, twins with rocket launchers, a redneck with a harpoon gun. The list just goes on and on. And Frank Grillo, who plays the protagonist, obviously doesn't know why all these people want him dead. And as he himself explains to us, the best he figured out he can do is get through the first couple of assassins in very specific ways, get into a bar, sit there getting hammered until at 12:47 all of them eventually show up anyway and kill him whatever he does. However, one day he has an epiphany and thinks he may have an idea as to why this is all happening. See, his estranged wife is working at a mysterious lab, designing a mysterious device which can destroy all of space and time. That's an actual line from the film, by the way. And she's working for evil Mel Gibson, who clearly has sinister intentions, as we learn through a flashback of the previous day, the actual previous day before the loop scenario began. So Frank Grillo begins to use each of the next iterations of the day to try and get some more information, get closer to the truth, learn some more stuff. In the process, of course, dying many, many, many times and killing many, many, many people. So it sounds like dumb fun from the trailer. It looked like dumb fun, and that's exactly what I expected. I know Frank Grillo is a very competent action actor, and I was intrigued by Mel Gibson in the villain role. Unfortunately, I did walk out quite disappointed. So the movie has three main components to it. Number one is the dumb action, and that is the stuff that works best. There are stunts, car chases, explosions, shootouts, hand-to-hand combat, even sword fighting. And that is all pretty cool and entertaining, and also funny because of how fed up the protagonist is with the situation by the time we meet him. Which, by the way, it's quite early on. We meet him in iteration, I think it was 41 or 42, and he's already figured out how to beat all those assassins, which, I think that this number is off. I think it should have been way longer, like a year or so, but whatever. The one part of the action that I didn't like is there is a sword fighting sequence, which is a pretty significant plot point in the film, and it is very clear that while Grillo is pretty damn competent at martial arts and gunplay, he is not very competent at swordplay. Those scenes just look like me at age 8 practicing with a stick, and it took me out of the film quite a lot. Second component is the story element, the whole explanation of why it is all happening and the villain and the wife and so on. That is abysmally terrible. I mean, just absolute nonsense, awful writing, awful dialogue. It almost ruins the film on its own, especially because of the pacing of it and the amount of time that's devoted to it. There are these long, drawn out scenes between these characters, which ultimately don't really add to the story in any meaningful way, but slow down the film so much that it becomes boring at times. And Naomi Watts and Mel Gibson probably shot all their scenes in a single day, certainly in a single room. And the exposition dumps that we are given are so bad that I felt like instead of making sense of the situation, they just further confuse it. Put it like this, it hits that sweet spot where if the filmmakers just never bothered to explain the science behind the loop, it just happens, it would have been fine. And if they explained it better, if they told us, given us some sort of working scientific explanation, that would have worked as well. But this is somewhere in between, and they say just enough to make me go, what? And also, inexplicably, the whole Doomsday device looks basically like a recycled version of the quantum tunnel from Ant-Man. I swear it's the same damn set. So that was weird. But anyway, the third and final component of the film is the relationship between Frank Grillo and his son, who he doesn't know that that's his dad, whatever. It was supposed to be the emotional anchor of the film, clearly, and it somewhat works. I enjoyed, for example, the sequence where Frank Grillo decides to spend many, many days just playing video games with his son, getting to know him better and slowly beginning to appreciate the gaming stuff as well. But I do feel that these scenes are also too long, and then too slow, and very clumsily handled at the end of the day. And just like the science, wife, villain, exposition, nonsense parts, they end up bogging down the whole movie. I would watch them and I would just be, okay, when are we going to get to the action again? And also, I would expect that the ending would be, in light of all this, would be more emotional, tying back to the son directly, maybe a final goodbye scene between the two characters. But the final scene is head scratchingly weird, and I don't know, maybe I missed a line or two because I was checked out by that point, but it ended, and I went, wait, what? What exactly happened? Is this the end of the film? Is that it? So to sum all of this up, the main meat of the film, which is dumb, silly action, does work and is entertaining and fun. But there's just too much of the other stuff to keep me interested. All of the drama that just slows down the film too much without bringing anything truly interesting to the table. If you're really starved for a simple action movie, you can give it a go anyway, and maybe you will find some merit in it. For me, unfortunately, there was just too much of the bad stuff to seriously recommend this to anyone.